I've been reading from the New Testament lately, and I really enjoy that, as I'm sure many of you do. But let me get to a particular place I was looking at here.
No.
I think about popularity, and it comes to the church. Most of us don't have, 30 people show up at our ward building every week to come to church with us, or we don't have, President Monson giving accolades as a world hero or something else like that. So I find it interesting that the Savior in Matthew chapter 8, verse 1, it says, "And when he had come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him." And we know there were many times that people followed the Savior, and that was in a very demonstrative way. But I think it's very interesting that we have two things. We have these huge crowds that followed the Savior, and then you have the huge crowds that condemned him, or that chose a thief instead of him to be freed when Pilate had the opportunity to do that. And we have the crowds that followed him and thought it was awesome, and then the crowds that said, "Crucify him, crucify him." And I'm not quite sure how to what's the word I'm looking for? Reconcile that. Except I think the way we look at this is, when you look at the popularity of Christ, when he was doing outward things like healing people and things like that, that was pretty cool. And it was part of his ministry to serve. But so many people saw him for just that he was a healer, but they didn't see that he was a savior or that he would atone for their sins, or so many didn't believe when he was resurrected. And I think what the trap that we have to watch for us, at least for me, is not just to fall into the outward trappings of our religion or the outward trappings of anything popular, but to look at, if you will, those things that are deeper. Yes, the Savior's healing was wonderful and miraculous and beautiful. And again, we pray for those blessings yet today, and those miracles happen today. And I think, though, it's important to remember that the miracles of healing are, as wonderful as they are, were not just the only thing the Savior did. That in the quiet spaces of our heart and the quiet opportunities we have, he knows every pain, every weakness, every sin, every ill that's been done wrong to us, and he gives us the opportunity to quietly be grateful for his atonement. And I think the thing I would add is that it's not just the redemptive power of his atonement, but the enabling power of his atonement that enables us to deal with tough situations or those things that the crowds will never see. And I think it's up to us to be able to develop that relationship with the Savior that would be more than just what the crowd would look for, and have those quiet moments when we reflect on who he is and what he does and how he blesses our lives. So I hope these thoughts made a little bit of sense, and I say them tonight in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Welcome.
Hi.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
I'm
good. Well, we've got three of us, and we're going to just start rocking and rolling here, and then we're going to jump in, and hopefully those that will join us later will be good to go. All right. We are going to talk about two things, and that is hiring and getting hired. So it's both, if you will. Now, these things change very frequently. Now, how many of you guys are or have in the last year, or somebody in your immediate circle of friends and family have looked for a job this year in the last little while? Anybody?
I have.
Okay. All right. Hold those thoughts. We're going to come back to that. How many of you have worked with or will work in the next little while with hiring someone or getting involved with that hiring process at your workplace? Anybody?
I have.
Okay, Nancy has. All right. So we're going to talk about both of those, and we're going to start with the hiring process. Nancy, tell us, do you mind telling us about what the circumstance was where you were doing that hiring? Or were involved with it, or whatever that would be.
Well, I was looking for I've probably for the last, I would say 12 years, I've been involved in the interview process of new employees for a company. Only in the last few years have I been overseeing employees, so I'm looking for, like, I was looking for an office manager to replace an office manager who had been hired the year before and was basically kind of a hire, and but we were trying to work through that situation
Okay.
to anyway to get someone in there that knew a little bit more about office management. Led us to believe he was a lot more experienced than he was, and it was very obvious quickly that he wasn't experienced in any of it. So anyway, that is a painful process for me to get jobs and then have had at least 80 people respond, and 5 people who felt like the job be just be miserable. I had a completely different perspective after having a bad hire to see that person be that miserable, frustrated constantly because they couldn't do the job and they didn't the experience or the skill set was just not there. So anyway, I really was methodical about this last person, and she is a dream. She's been really great, and so it's been a really good experience.
Good. Is that other person still there, or are they gone?
No, we let him go.
Okay.
We actually offered them a package, let him know that we knew that he was not happy, and just offered him a severance package and he took it.
Okay.
So,
Good.
yeah, we took that package and went 6 months with no office manager because we couldn't find somebody that was a right fit. So
Okay.
these materials this week, I feel like we basically aren't very good at recruiting.
Trust me, you're not the only one. It's a hard thing to do. All right. Anybody else experience with hiring? Thank you very much, Nancy, for that example. Thank you for sharing your pain with us, I guess, if you will.
And I wanted to ask you a question,
Yeah.
if you don't mind. This is like is not going to be posted to the public, right?
No, it's just our class.
It's just our class.
Is that okay? Is that okay, Nancy?
Oh yeah, it's totally
now,
okay.
Now, now that I think about this, hang on a second.
It's like,
It has a public. If someone went looking for it, they could find it, but they would have to get it off of my YouTube channel. Is that realistically? Because I can go back and blot out that example if you need me to.
no, it's okay.
Okay.
I just wondering. I wondered that the other day in our class discussion just amongst ourselves. I wonder if anybody, because I can think of examples, but I don't know that my employer would be thrilled with me sharing.
No. Okay, and we certainly don't share that outside the class, and but to broadcast this, I do public, and then I also do our group. So I think they would have to be really looking for this to find it.
Right, I think they would too.
Okay. And again, if you're uncomfortable with that, let me know.
No, I'm good.
Okay. Any other examples? And by the way, we welcome Nicole here. She's one of our regular followers, along with, I think, all the rest of you. Nicole, anything you would add as far as any hiring experiences? Because I want to go through a couple of things here with us.
Coming in a little bit late, I've been more on the one being hired in than on the one doing the hiring.
No problem. That's normal. Okay, I've got one of my cohorts that is kind of my mentor here, is telling me that we can adjust that privacy to make that just with the group. So thank you, Bridget, for that, and we'll see what we can do to make sure that's the case. Because we want you guys to be comfortable to talk. All right, well, we're going to talk about hiring. I think, and we're going to, by the way, we're going to spend most of the night on how to get hired. So we're going to take a little bit of a detour. It's not necessarily part of exactly what our class curriculum is, but it's still related enough to it that I think it's helpful. So to get hired, I think there's a couple of things that come to mind. I mean, excuse me, hiring. I'm jumping ahead of myself. For hiring, I think you have to do a very good job of sourcing those candidates. Wherever they are, it's really hard, and especially if you're in an area or a company that is hard to find people. I work for a plumbing company and air conditioning company, and those trades are difficult in today's world to find. So you have to source lots of different ways. Believe it or not, where we spend most of our time, and you're probably thinking, holy cow, this is bad, we spend a lot of time on Craigslist. Yeah. It's very inexpensive to post, and it's amazing how many people we find there. You have other sites like, I'm only going to put one of these down here, Career Builder or Monster or more, I guess, mainstream type of sites. In other words, there's lots of places electronically to post jobs. Everybody likes Indeed, except it's not. If it picks up your post, that's great. If it doesn't, then you can help pay for that through them. But that's another one that we don't pay for it, so we just hope we get lucky and you can get that to pop up there. So we've got those items. Actually, there are still people that recruit in the newspaper. It's extremely expensive, but there are still people that are looking to get hired that don't pick up a computer. They pick up the newspaper, they read it on Sunday or on Wednesday, and they get hired, or at least try to. There is always, always, always the key thing, which is one of my favorites on both ends of this equation, is networking and conversation and asking if people actually need a job. You know anybody needs a job? Hey, I've got some plumbing jobs, or I've got an electrician job, or I've got an office job, or I have a computer job, whatever. It doesn't have to be just, it can be anything. So there's lots of things that go along with that. There's also calling. There is cold calling. There are paying recruiters, which can be very expensive. There are lots of different things that go along with this concept of getting people in the door. So those are some of the methods. Anybody have anything to add or any experiences you've had with using any of those tools?
Do you by chance use LinkedIn at all?
I should, and I don't.
Okay.
It's a great tool. Thank you. And that's not because it doesn't work. It's just that I don't have the time to spend time on that.
Right.
It's more what I've got time to do is post and leave.
Okay.
So I would highly recommend LinkedIn. It works very well, and it's just one of those that's a little bit tough when you're strapped for time like myself is. I am.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
We just started using the Indeed website for searching for a product manager, which is really position in our company because who comes into that position basically knows recipe for the hybrids that we have in our seat company. And so we had a product manager. We had a really long, drawn-out search about 2 years ago and hired this guy, and he came in and was there a year and then left and went to work for another company to help them develop their own hybrid, and they basically come out with. So we're really kind of gun-shy in looking right now, and we've had several good candidates off Indeed. And we're hoping that those work out.
Good, Nancy. That's a good and a bad example. I mean, that's awful that happened, and
Like we're,
you hope people don't do that, but sometimes they do.
yeah.
Did he basically or she basically come in to learn your business and go somewhere else?
Yeah.
No, I really don't think that was his intent. His agenda was he really did want to work as a product manager. He was trying to get out from under Monsanto and really wanted to get out working for an independent seed company that was not under the thumb of Monsanto. They were more independent and had different hybrids, and they were broad selection of products rather than just a certain, like the GMO, because we non-GMO and GMO. So anyway, I really felt like he also was finishing his PhD at Texas A&M University, so he wanted to get to Texas, of course, Texas-based company. And once he got to Texas, it was only about a month when a company that he had known and worked closely with us position offered him
Wow.
an amazing amount of money, and he just took it, and he had just graduated with his PhD when he took that position.
Well, there's some loyalty issues there, aren't there? Well, good, bad, or otherwise, there
Yeah.
seem to be.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the comment about Indeed. And I think the thing I want to do is kind of take a minute on the common sense part of hiring. I think you have to do a lot of looking. You have to do a lot. And Nancy, I couldn't have said that better than what you said. A lot of preparation. You have to do a lot of interviews. At the same time, you have to be fast. Because if you take too long, guess what? Somebody else is going to snatch up your good person. So it's a balancing act between being quick and making the wrong decision, which we've heard a perfect example of with Nancy, and being able to take all the time you need and never making a hire because you're just too worried about things and getting paranoid. So all good thoughts there. I think when you hire, you have to have a process, and that process needs to be which includes everything that makes that hire legal. If you're in a state that requires E-Verify like we are in Arizona, you have to use that or use the tools that you need at your disposal. And you have to do a good job of thoroughly screening employees, including background checks, the ability to check their driving records, and you name it. It's all part of that. So there's lots that goes into that hiring process. What else? I'm talking too much tonight. What do you guys think that also is important in the hiring process from what you've read?
Well, I just have a question, like with you, like how much do you rely on your gut? How does that play in?
I don't.
Or should it not?
No. I think it's a great question. I think some people call it gut. I would say I look for things. Here's what I look for, and see if this works. And that's a great question. I appreciate that from that perspective, Jennifer. A couple of things. I always look for a decent job history. Job history to me is one of the best things you can have to indicate how successful somebody's going to be. It's not perfect. And with the recent economy from 2007 till even recently, lots of good people have a bad job history. So you have to be careful and make sure you don't put too much into that. So I do that. We have interviews face-to-face. I don't do phone interviews, and unless that's just to get to know somebody for a few minutes. Face-to-face interviews, and you look for a couple of things. You look for mannerisms, if they can communicate comfortably, and basically I have them describe their technical background. They have to talk me through what they've done, and they have to have examples. If you go to the material we've talked about or other places, it's called behavioral interviewing, and I don't make it stuffy. It's just real simple that says, tell me what you did here. Your job at the seed company, and we'll use Nancy's example. Tell me what you did. What were the projects you worked on? And if you look at those things and peel that away, it's really hard that nobody can lie through that stuff. Because if they are any good, you're going to see it, and you'll know if they aren't because they're giving you a bunch of hooey, for lack of a better term. So, and you know what? You can tell that, and you can just listen, take notes, and just say, tell me about this, tell me about that, and it's not hard. It just, I take the lazy approach to interviewing and let them talk, let them share with it what it is. Tell me about this, tell me about that. Have you ever done this? And then always, always, always ask for examples. If you don't get examples, they probably haven't done it. And I would say the other question that goes, or the other part that goes to that question Jennifer asked is how many examples do you have? If they have one example that they're really proud of, which is great, then they don't have any others, then that's a problem. So did I answer your question, Jennifer?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. So I don't go by my gut much at all. I try to go through those things. What's their job history? Do they have real examples of what they've done? Are they at ease in talking and communicating? And as my kids say, and this is not technical, so please don't take it that way. I should give my disclaimer here. My kids say if they're not a freak show, that's always, you got to be careful with people that come across, not from a diversity sense, I'm not talking about that, come across anxious or neurotic or freak show, as my kids would say. You got to watch those folks, because what you see in the interview is typically what you're going to get on the job.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a great question. What else about hiring for you guys? What else comes to mind besides what we've talked about here? Or you have a question on?
Terrible about checking back references. I have to say, I pretty much what they say is face value. I don't know that I've ever checked a background reference.
Well, can I add something to that, Nancy? We check criminal background. Now, that's a big deal in circles right now. It's called a lot of states have passed laws called ban the box, which is you cannot check on their criminal background. I don't agree with that, but at the same time, I understand there are people that are concerned with that. But I do think background checks, when they list people to call, almost always you're not going to get much. They put their friends down there or people they work really well with. They're not going to put a bad reference down.
Right.
So it's like, okay, do I really have to do this because, oh, they were great, they were wonderful, blah, blah, blah. They walked on water, they could eat and chew gum at the same time, and, you name it, it's just almost impossible to do. And nobody has the time to do it. I mean, that's the big deal, is that nobody's got time to do that. So we do it occasionally on big ones. For an example, the company I'm with now, just recently, in the last 6 months, I did a very thorough background check on a key employee that we hired. Turned out that he spent 6 months in jail here locally. We never found that. Neither did our background check. And the people that I got references from either knew about or should have known about his incarceration and didn't say anything. So, it's really tough to do that. And so I'm not a big fan, but if it really matters, you can do it and see how it helps. So I don't know if that makes a good answer or not. So other questions or thoughts on what we can do to make sure our hires are effective when it comes to that?
Have you had anybody come to you to do like an informational interview?
I have. Once in a while that happens. Again, in our area, in the kind of work we're doing now, and that's a great question, Lynn Ann, we've got pretty much full employment, meaning I work with plumbers and air conditioning guys and people like that. If you're any good at all, you've got a job. Literally, they can call 3 people, they'll get 3 interviews, and they'll get 3 offers. If you're in that kind of field where that happens, if you're not, then you got to work at it a little bit harder, but with people getting back to work, employment is easier to get for us and harder to get for the employer.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other thoughts on hiring that we could do, should do, that would help us? Nicole, anything come to mind for you?
The only thing that's coming to mind is when you were talking about some of the interview questions that you bring up. It reminded me of when I interviewed our HR person at the beginning. He said one of the questions he always asks is, if you were to be an animal, what kind of animal would you be? and then he will let them figure that out throughout the interview process. And he says that kind of helps him, and when he's looking for hires too, kind of an off the. I mean, who can prepare for a question like that? I didn't know how to answer it.
Well, what does he do with the answer is my question. Hello, Carolyn. We missed you last week. Glad you're here. So what does she do with the answer? What does he do with the answers?
Well, he says that it can really, it gives him an idea of the type of person that is because of what the answer is.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember one of the examples he gave me, and nothing's coming to mind right now.
Okay. So if I told you I'm a squid, or I'm a rodent, what would I'm only picking on you a little bit. I would be interested to see what some of those answers were. Someone might say I'm a bear because I'm very aggressive, or you know, I'm a water buffalo so I can carry a lot of weight on my shoulders, or something. You know, I don't know. I've always wanted somebody to say I'm a pterodactyl or something like that because I like eating people.
I think if I remember right, I think someone actually said that they were a worm, and he was talking about how they compared it to being resourceful, beneficial, and
making do with what you have, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess everybody's got their own style of interviewing, and I would never put that down. What I would say on the interviewing part is you need to have an office, a demeanor, a place, all those things that help people feel comfortable, and you want them to open up their soul to you. That's the whole point. And if you have to ask really tough questions, ask tough questions. But I would say you want to give them prompts and let them talk. That's also a way you can tell if anybody is worth hiring or not, because if you say, tell me about the last job you had. Oh, I worked at McDonald's. And they sit there and say nothing else. Well, that's great. They should naturally have a conversation with you. And I think that's important as you, as the interviewer, are trying to say, tell me about this. And if you pull out a whole thing of paper and say, I've got 48 questions for you here, and the first one is, tell me blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, don't do that. Make it nice and easy. Take notes. Have a way to take notes. But just say, tell me about when, or tell me about the last 3 jobs you had. And when they start going in, well, tell me a little bit more about that. That sounds interesting. What did you do? And then you always can go back to and I don't know if I get these exactly right, who, what, where, when, why, and how. The 6 W's. Because you can always say, well, who was, to that behavioral question, who was your boss? How did you get along with them? What were the things you did in a project working together with your manager? You can ask questions that are like that help both put people at ease, and that just kind of prompts them along, because not everybody is going to say, here's my job, here's the most important things I did, here's why I liked it, and people don't answer questions that way. They need a little help in getting that going. The other way I would look at that is that I would also say it's like an interview. You've seen on TV a good interviewer, and you've seen a bad interviewer, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the characteristics of a bad interviewer? Whatever that was for on TV or on radio. What do they do?
They're playing with toys, or they're not looking at you, and they may be doing something completely different that has nothing to do with the interview at all. We have other people that are coming in and interrupting. Yeah,
they pull out their cell phone.
Right, they're on their cell phone. They're just completely occupied doing something else and not focusing on interviewing the individual.
And if you're the interviewee, you're going, you almost want to say, excuse me?
Yeah.
Are you really listening to me?
Right.
Now, obviously you wouldn't do that because that would end that interview pretty quick, but maybe you would. Like, I want to get a job here, but you're not getting the deal here. So, there's ways to make that work, and I think those are some good thoughts. All right, I want to take a few minutes. I've got 3 screens now. I'm trying to figure out how to use them. So we're about halfway through our time. These are all good examples, but I want to talk about, for you guys, this is, again, not necessarily a part of our discussion tonight officially, but I always find it beneficial. So to get hired, how many of you are going to school to get a better job?
I am.
Okay. And Ann's not proud. She just jumps right in there.
I'm going to get a job, period.
Okay, Jennifer, there you go. All right. Nancy, how about you?
I just education. My boss supported me in it, so I'm
Okay. Well, you're trying to enhance your current job.
my company on the president of the company. So if I was the president, that's the highest position I could hold, and I wouldn't. I don't really want to do anything else. So
Okay, that's cool. Well, that just tells me you like what you do.
I really do like what I do.
Okay. Nicole, you?
Yes, I originally, when I started going back to school, I started back just to get my education, and then family situation changed to where I realized I needed a better job. So.
Okay. So 3 out
Yeah.
of 4 of you. Good
Mhm.
thought. Okay. Let me give you a couple of thoughts, and I want to hear from you guys. I would say you want to have a decent resume. It does not need to be perfect. And one of the things that is a lost art is, and I know these are a pain, but you really need to have a cover letter. It's just not that hard, and you need, my opinion, to make this easier on you. I'll give you my 2 cents worth, and people disagree with me all the time on this. I don't think you change your resume. Your resume is a look in the rearview mirror. Your resume is what it is, and that way it makes it easier for you to spend time on the cover letter. A good cover letter is customized to the job, why you think I can do this, what the benefits are to hiring me, you name it. But I think you leave your resume as is, and you get your time on a cover letter. Any reaction to that from you guys?
I wish I would have known that when I was helping my husband years ago.
Okay.
Rather than writing 10 different resumes every time.
I don't think you need to. That's my opinion. Again, when it comes to hiring, everybody's got a different opinion, so it doesn't mean mine is the right answer. So, Nicole, were you going to add something?
Well, I was going to say it's been many years. I am currently working on my internship, and so one of the requirements is to do a resume. But you go onto these word processing sites, and you see all of these different types of creative, colorful resume formats out there. Are employers looking for that? Are they still wanting something cut and dry and basic?
You know, it
A
depends.
mix of the two?
If you're applying for a graphic design job or something where there's a lot of creativity, you probably want to spice it up a little bit. For most of us, it's pretty much the same thing. My opinion is.
Jeff, can I
Yes, go ahead, please.
Nicole, I think also, like you said, if it's a design field, it depends on the industry that you're after. Like, I'm in the interior design field, so mine might be a little bit more dressy up than if you're just applying for an office position. Again, it just depends on the industry, it depends on the company. But, like, I think what Jeff was going to say is, as long as you have that, I don't think it needs to be really super fancy, but I think it just needs to make sure that it has all the correct information, all the jobs, maybe not all the jobs. A lot of the companies that and people that I've talked to, they had said, have at least 10 years on your resume, and that's it.
Okay. And there's lots of different schools on that one. My resume goes all the way back to when I graduated from college. And again, that's up to you, and 10 years is a good round number. So I guess I would do that. I would say 2 things. My favorite kind of resume, and you can look this up and get examples. If you guys want me to, I'll send you my resume, not because it's great on what I did. It's just that it shows you the function and the type of that. I think it's a hybrid of 2 things. One is a chronological resume. I think you need to put down the jobs you had and how long they were for. So you can have your employers can see, okay, you worked here for 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever. So it's that plus skill-based. And so it tells the skills that you used or the accomplishments that you made when you were at that job. So I've worked here for a year and a half, and I've done healthcare open enrollment twice. I've hired X amount of people in a certain time. all those things that go along with that. So I think for your jobs, you want to have how long you were there, what the job was, and what you got done, and what you're able to get done. That's the starting point for me. Anybody disagree with that?
No.
Okay. And again, every kind of resume. Sorry, Nancy, I didn't mean to talk over you. Every kind of resume is different. Everybody can do it their own way. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Is chronological kind of like the same as the LinkedIn format?
Oh, I don't know exactly that answer, but I think, Leanne, it is.
Okay.
I think it is. I did one for my husband. You know, I look at resumes to my email, and if there's no cover letter, I usually don't pass it.
Usually what? You were cutting out there, Nancy.
I might take a glance at it, but if I got a cover letter yesterday from a guy who's got like just a wonderful education, but his cover letter was addressed to a different company. I was so taken back. I thought, oh my gosh. I don't.
Not a good start.
It is not a good start.
Well, what? Did that help you? Because if I was going to do that, and that was a professional company, or a professional job, I'd say, sorry, you're done.
Yep.
Next, and I wouldn't go any further.
Totally. I knew I knew I didn't need to ask if he was detailed. because
Yeah, 'cause if he was detail-oriented, he wouldn't be sending you a letter for a different company.
I love that. That's a great example.
Forgot to change the address. So.
I thought that in the class that I took when I was going through the Pathway program, I thought that I would know what a good resume looked like because I know what good resumes look like, and so when I created mine, because it was part of our requirement, of course, then we get with the BYU, the staff that helps do resumes at no charge, and they picked mine apart like it was the worst resume they'd ever seen.
But that's okay, because there's probably some things you learned out of it.
And they redid it. They had me redo it like 6 times and then got it right, and like, oh, this is awesome. And so I have my resume now. I said, I don't need a resume. I'm not looking for a job. And they said, you have to have a resume. Yep. I was like, dang. I thought I could get by without.
No, gotta have one. So I guess I would say when you're looking at this, the resume, the cover letter is important. You can do whatever you want. I like those two, the chronology and the skill or the accomplishment based. I think I want to move on here. I think the other part is you hear this all the time, especially, hang on. Sorry, my eyes are done for the night. I can't read what I'm typing. You have to network. Most people don't get jobs through the internet. Lots of times we do. I hire all people all the time off the internet. But most people in good jobs don't. So I would say when you're looking for a job, again, especially this always helps when your employer already knows or has laid you off. Hello, Brianne. Glad to have you.
Hello. Great.
Welcome.
Thank you.
One of the things I would add when we're talking about networking for getting hired is you talk to everyone. So let's say you're out of a job and you are looking for a job. I would say when you go to the grocery store, you strike up a conversation with the person in front of you because they may know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. You talk to your friends. You talk to your relatives. You talk to your neighbors. The pride has to go away. Now, this applies especially if you're out of a job. If you're in a job and have time, then you probably don't want to do that because your current employer might find out you're looking, especially if you're in a small town. But I think those things are important and very, very key to making things happen. So I think you really have to network all the time. The other thing I would add that goes along with this, we'll come back and get your input in a minute, is when you look at this, you have to have a good interview. Now, I want you guys to talk to me what makes a good interview, either from our material we looked at or what you've seen, or what you've been on? What's a good interview?
There's interaction between both you and the interviewer.
Okay.
You have good questions ready. You know about the company. You're able to.
Okay, hang on 1 second. You're going fast there.
Okay, sorry.
No, just right. You have questions, right?
Yeah.
And they're ready, and they're written out, and they're prepared. And you know about the company as well. So,
Right.
man, those. Don't. I don't want to go through those too quick. Those are excellent examples. Carolyn, welcome back again.
Sorry, I've been struggling tonight.
Okay, well, we're glad you're here. You know what? We missed you last week, and glad you're here for the last part of tonight. So, Carolyn, we're talking about getting hired. So that's the conversation you're jumping in here.
Yeah, I've been able to hear. You just have.
Okay. Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. So what do you guys think? What else about the interview that you can be ready for, or how do you get ready for that?
Can I just say another thing too?
Sure.
Is when you're preparing for an interview, I know this sounds silly, but look in the mirror to see what your facial expressions are going to be like. Also, prepare for any of the behavioral questions so
Okay.
that you can have a starting point of what was your job, what did you do, what helped, what process did you work with other people, do you interact really well with people. So have that prepared so when they do ask those questions, you'll know what to say.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Lynn Ann.
I don't know if this has been discussed yet or not, but appearance for interviews is extremely important.
Yes.
What you're wearing, how your hair is, how neat you are, and body language is extremely important in an interview.
Okay. So
Are their
let me ask-
arms folded, or are they hands open? You're right, yeah. I think
Now,
it's-
Carolyn, when you say appearance, do I have to be a supermodel to get a job?
No, but I would not wear scruffy blue jeans and flip-flops.
Okay.
Business casual. No loud colors. Actually, that was part of what I taught in one of the classes I taught, professional readiness, was how to get ready for an interview. And I
Okay.
let my students come dressed as they would for an interview and actually interview each other,
Good.
which they had a great time with that.
Good. Very good example. Good idea. I think that's awesome. And I think, a couple things. Shave if you're a guy. Maybe shave if you're a girl, too, but shave if you're a guy for sure. Actually comb your hair. Shower the morning of. I know this sounds kind of crazy, but you'd be amazed some of the things that happens. Do not smell. Now, I hope none of you have this problem. Don't smell like tobacco. There's just some things that are just plain old common sense
Well, I
that
think
go
something
along
that
with
really,
that.
I think something really important to note is that you need to be, not only do you need to be ready for your interview, but you need to be on time. If you
Yeah.
show up
Yeah.
late, then that starts out with a really bad impression, even before you get started. So
Yep.
always be early. Definitely don't be late.
And especially, what I would say, Brianne, is that if you don't know where you're going and have not been there before, please, please, please show up early. Go a half an hour early. Go an hour early.
Yeah.
You can always, find the place and then go, sit and get something to drink in your car or something like that, or relax, or whatever the case may be. You don't want to just come flying into an interview, squeal into the parking space, run into the place, and there it is. It's time for the interview.
Well, one issue is some places where you go, there's not any parking.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wait till the last minute, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. And then you have to run, and then you come in all sweaty, and it's always,
Right.
it doesn't start off well.
I'd have to say also, if it's a long distance between where you are and where the interview is, try to make sure that your traffic time is, you prepare for that. So if it's, say, like I'm in Vancouver and Portland or Wilsonville is like 45 minutes away. That's without traffic.
Okay.
So depending on what your traffic situation is, you have to prepare for if there's an accident on the bridge. I mean, that's just a given. So.
Okay. Very good. That's good advice.
There was
Uh,
one other thing I
Go
always
ahead, Carrie.
advise my students. Even though you've sent in a resume and whoever's interviewing you probably has a copy of it, it is good for you to take a copy of your resume with you. So when they start asking you questions, you have your resume in front of you and you don't
Okay.
feel all silly. 'Cause
Okay, and I would add, sometimes you'll end up with 2 or 3 people in an interview that you didn't expect were coming.
Right.
You've got those ready. I would say not only take one, I would take 2 or 3 copies. And that way you've got those to hand out to people. So, good example, Carolyn. Thank you.
Super good.
What else on getting hired? So let's leave the interview for now. We've talked about the resume, the interview. What are some other things that you can do to get hired that would be beneficial from your experience?
I think you have to know what the business is. You need to do a little research. What their values are, what their goals are. It's important for you to know that before
Okay,
you try to get a job there.
very good. And that can apply to small companies as well. You're not going to find that on the internet, but you can go talk to employees. You can find out what are things that that company stands for, as you said, with values, and that's all important. So excellent example. Okay. Now, what are some things I always like to do this? It's kind of fun. How about this one? Do not do this. All right. In an interview, there are things you don't do. Just think of one or two word answers.
Don't chew gum.
Okay. Do not chew gum. Oh my gosh, it's one of the. It's like nom 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 nom. You know, that kind of thing. You don't want to chew gum. Very good.
Don't be on your cell phone.
Okay. All right.
And don't fit.
Say that again, Nancy. The last
Don't
thing.
be fidgety, like tapping your feet or pin on the table because you might be nervous.
Okay. Very good. All right. Other things you shouldn't do.
I know that this hasn't happened to me, but I've actually interviewed other people for other companies that I've worked for, and a lot of we are hiring salespeople, and there was about 4 or 5 people that swore in the interview, and I thought, there's no way. And the manager, actually the owner, was like, well, we really like this person. I'm like, yeah, but the thing is this: he's swearing in the interview. That's a good indication he is going to swear at clients and customers, and that's not going to be a good representation of the company.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Other things. Other things you don't want to do.
Don't show up to an interview if you haven't even looked into our company at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No research.
No research, and you know nothing about our company. Don't show up and think it's.
Okay. Very good. All right. What else? Any other don'ts? All right. I'm going to change it to a couple of do's. And I have a few of these that I really like. And I'm going to go to this one where you talk about the office and the person. Now, I'm going to do this at the peril of my own life here for a minute. I'm going to take you around my office and tell me what you see that you might be able to use to talk about me. All right? It is certainly not an.
You like the ocean because of the lighthouse.
Yep.
Oh.
Did we lose him?
We might have lost him.
He likes pictures to make sure that
This is a very. All right, hang on. Everybody's coming back. I'm not quite sure where I am, but I've got a black screen here, so give me just a second. Maybe that wasn't a good idea.
So I noticed there's a window behind you that you have blinds closed right now.
Yeah.
So what kind of a view do you have out your window?
I have a view out to the street, which is a lovely view. Hang on one second here, gang. I still don't have anybody here that I can see. So you guys can see me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, this isn't good.
Lovely technology.
Well, we love. I have it. I have 3 monitors. It's a long story. I used to have 2 computers. Now I have 1, and everything's through my laptop. And sometimes it just doesn't get happy.
Hmm.
All right. Well, if you guys can see me, I'm just going to keep going, and I'll be blind here, and you guys can. I hear people coming and going, so I think, do we have the same group that was
Yeah,
here a minute ago?
same group.
Same group.
All right, hang on. This is just really weird.
Carolyn, while he's doing that, I have a question for you, Carolyn.
Okay.
Who's studying in your area like we have down here in Lorena?
I didn't hear all of the question.
You have the setting of the water. I mean, is flooding in your area?
Oh yeah, it's flooding really bad.
Or just not even up the road going to. We have to go the long way to work because 3 feet over the bridge.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Goodness. Well, we'll hope that works out okay. I guess I can see again, so I guess we're back.
Okay.
And again, I'm sorry about that 2 minutes of wasted time. But my desk is.
There's your desk. Oh, there you go.
It's really exciting, can't you tell?
But it's very neat.
Neat.
I
Yeah.
definitely think you like the ocean.
Yeah.
Well, is that because this over here?
The calendar, your picture, the lighthouse on the wall.
Looks like you have a grandbaby.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you have a
That's it.
grandbaby there?
I do. This is the rest of it. I have my sign on the wall. That's my HR. That's my HR motto. Work hard and be nice. So my point is not to say anything about me, but what I have a very and lots of people go along with this is that you can gather a lot from somebody just in their office. Almost all people will do an interview in their office. Even in a conference room, you can tell something about the company. Even if a person walks in and they have like a very neat and organized notepad, or they take notes on their computer, there's always something you can tell from that circumstance. And I would encourage you as you go to an interview to make sure you leverage that. Okay, you guys saw I had a granddaughter. Could that make me more comfortable with you? You say, I see that picture. Is that your granddaughter? And just a 30-second chat about that could be nice, or whatever the case might be. Actually, the lighthouse was just that's a painting or a picture we used to have in our house. My wife thought it was ugly, so she got rid of it, and so it came here. This other one, somebody gave this picture.
The stash that doesn't belong at the house comes there.
Yeah, kind of thing like that. So I don't know, but I would encourage you to try to use something about that person, because they're trying to assess you and how you make them feel. And if you can help them feel comfortable and ready to have that discussion, that can go a long way. It's not going to be the end of the world, but it can be a nice thing to help break the ice. All right. We are about out of time. We got a few minutes, but what I wanted to leave is some other comments. So we've talked about hiring or being hired. And what I would say, talk to me about some kind of a question I've asked you guys before, and that's the so what question. What does this mean? Why do we care? Whether we're doing the hiring or trying to get hired, what are the issues that are going on when you talk about this? Sum it up for me tonight.
I think you're trying to find out if the person is a good fit for your company, or if you're trying to get hired, if the company is going to be a good fit for you.
Okay, it's a match.
Yeah.
And that's a very simple, you're trying to find a match. And by the way, it's important for you to know, and that's a great point, Nicole, is that you don't want to go to a company that's not a match for you.
Yeah.
Now, if you're starving and you're desperate and you need a job no matter what, yeah, then maybe you do. But you really want to try to find something that fits who you are. Very good. What else on the so what question?
Well, I think that you end up spending a great deal of your time at work with the people, your coworkers. That needs to be really good. You don't want to be working with a lot of people that just have a lot of stress and tension amongst yourselves. It's
Or that you
important.
just plain old don't like.
Right.
You
It's
know?
important to be comfortable with everybody.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Carolyn. What else when it comes to hiring or being hired?
I think that depending on the industry, I mean, sometimes you can be selective at what industry you want to be in.
Okay, very good. I think that's important. All right, Brianne, any thoughts from you on what this means as we kind of wrap up our thoughts tonight?
Well, I think the most important thing is that it really does matter the decisions that you make as to what you're doing for your job search and where you actually are going to apply, that you have actually done some research and you know what you want, and that when they call you for an interview anymore, it's not just because you put in an application, it's because they saw something on your application that they actually liked. So they're looking at you too. So,
Okay.
you know, it's something that, yes, you're building a relationship, but there's a reason they called you. So you want to be ready and prepared before you walk in the door.
Very good.
And that's what matters. It really does.
Okay, excellent. I really like that. Those are great thoughts. All right, I've got a couple more for you. First of all, watch your Facebook posts. If you're doing something really weird, you might want to monitor that.
Yeah, in our business, you don't want to do any. People get fired.
Okay.
Recently we had somebody that put a picture of a patient.
Oh, that isn't good.
That's
No.
bad.
That is a
Okay.
guaranteed firing right there.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. What if that patient was her mother? No, just kidding.
No.
Yeah.
All right. So there's that. Be careful with that. I would just say the other thing when it comes to hiring or being hired, you're looking for genuine people. If you're the one looking for a position, just be yourself. Relax, be genuine. Everybody in this discussion tonight, I would hire all of you based on the fact that your body language is good. We talked. It was relaxed. So those things you want to just try to do, and it's hard to do in an interview because people get nervous. Just try to be yourself and make that work on your behalf. Any other final thoughts on what we summarizing tonight? Jennifer, anything for you?
No, I've been out of the workforce for a while, so this is a really good help for me to know what I need to prepare.
Okay.
I always think that it's important to have questions and to know enough about what you're getting into to know to ask the right questions.
Okay. And I'm going to add an editorial comment here. There, especially in the church, there are sisters that have been out of the workforce raising children. In my opinion, and this is a man's opinion, I don't know if you guys agree with it or not, you never have to apologize for being a full-time mom. Because the skills that you learn as a full-time mom are incredibly beneficial to the workplace. And yeah, you may have to overcome a few obstacles, and it may not be perfect, but you never have to apologize for that. And again,
it's awfully hard to write a resume.
It is. No, but you can do it, and I think you're honest, and you talk about it, and you talk about things you can do and the things you can't do.
Right.
So Jennifer, that comment wasn't aimed at you. I know that, and whether they're in our faith or not, I have people that have been full-time moms that come and apologize, and I just say, do not apologize. You've done the best thing you can on earth. You may be able to be qualified for this job, you may not be, but you never apologize for being a mom. That's just, again, I hope that doesn't come across as being chauvinist, because that's not my intent.
No, not at all.
So,
I had one final question.
yes.
When you apply for a job as an HR professional, how do you feel about people following up on, after you submit your resume and your application, then sometimes you don't hear for months, is it ever appropriate to contact and follow up on that application?
I would say absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that 100%. If you don't hear anything in 2 or 3 weeks, I'd call and say, hey, I put that in. It's like that cover letter, Carolyn. It's a lost art. And you don't have to be a stalker. If you're a stalker, that isn't going to work for you.
No.
All of a sudden you see this person, they should walk up to you in the grocery store and say, hi, I applied for a job. I know who you are. That's not a good way to do it. But to call or send an email and say, hey, I applied, I really appreciate people that take that initiative from my perspective. Again, you don't want to be a stalker, though. If you make it too high a cost for me, I'm not going to go anywhere with that. But if you make it low cost and you're qualified, and it's like, yeah, so-and-so called again. And we had that conversation just today. Somebody that called and said, you know, hey, I've applied and just wanted to see if you got my resume. I'd be interested in working for you. That's all good stuff.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, you know what? We're a few minutes over. You guys have had awesome comments tonight. Brianne, we haven't had you here often, but we're really glad you came tonight. Carolyn, we're glad you're back and missed you for a week. And everybody else, we're grateful for you being here. For those of you that are watching this on the recording, we thank you for the time. And we hope this has been worthwhile, because to me, this is where our class material comes to life. We can't be in the same room, but we really are in the same room, minus the few technology things that happen all the time. So thank you, guys. Are we ready for week 5's paper to get turned in on Saturday?
We're working on ours.
Okay.
Working on it.
I'm sure it's gonna be awesome. I'm very excited. So,
Brother Bonnie, I do have a question.
yes.
I went in to take the quiz, not the one on hiring, the one after that. I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
And it referenced a BYU Idaho video, and I can't find that video anywhere.
Oh, that was the one on hiring. I just took that one tonight.
Yeah, can you find the video?
No, I didn't
Okay.
find the video.
Jennifer, will
Yeah.
you send me a quick email on that, and I'll make sure we get that remedied.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. If you missed the question, here's what we do. We always give 5 points at the end of the semester. There's always a couple of questions that, and we just redesigned the class, and so the person that did it did a great job. And we cleaned up a lot of the quiz questions, but there may still be 1 or 2 that are not perfect.
Okay.
So if
Yeah.
you could send me an email on that, and then also at the end of the semester, I'll give you 5 points for things like this. That just say, hey, you know what? There's probably a question or 2 that didn't make sense. We'll give you a couple gimmies out of it.
Okay.
Well, when you can retake,
That's true.
which is wonderful to me.
True.
That's the repentance, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go. If life was that
Oops,
easy,
guess
right,
wrong.
Carolyn?
Right.
Get a do-over.
Yes, I
Yeah.
just have one question.
Yes.
On the sample paper, it is 1.5 double space. Do you want it 1.5 or do you want it double space?
I don't care.
You don't care. Okay.
No, because you know what? I'm doing a word count anyway.
Okay.
The thing I really care about is 2 things, and if you're watching the recording, please put everybody's name on the paper. Okay, so I don't have to go check on that. And the second thing is, please make sure you turn it in Word. If you build it on Google Docs or something else like that, that's great. I have no problem with that. Convert it to a Word document, please, and then post it that way. That's all I care about. You can have it on, 3 letters on a page, and slightly exaggerated.
Okay.
I don't care if it's double space, single space, and yeah, officially yes, but I really don't care because we have the technology to look at that on a word count, and that makes it easier.
Do you want a title page for all of our names on there, separate?
No, just put the names on. That's all that matters. The other thing I didn't mention is you should be using either APA or MLA format, and those will more than make up for whatever those questions are. So that's a good question, Lynn.
Okay.
If you're using that format, I don't care which, just that'll take care of that. Put the names on the top and then start the paper.
Okay.
So anyway, you guys are awesome. Again, we look forward to it. Any of you that are watching the recording or any of you who've got questions as the deadline gets closer, email or call me and we will go from there.
Okay.
But
Thank
you
you.
guys have a great night tonight.
You too.
Well, what's left of it. I'm going home and going to bed. I'm still at work, obviously. So. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
All right. Have a good week.
Good night.